Hello everybody and welcome to part 12, I think, something like that, of my Fire Emblem 6 hard mode chapter guide. Today we're going to be looking at chapter 10b, which is of course the parallel to chapter 10a, which is the chapter we did last time. This chapter is actually a lot more similar to chapter 11b, or sorry, 11a, which is the chapter we'll be looking at next time, as opposed to the chapter we did last time, even though they are paralleled. I mentioned last time that chapter 11a is my favorite chapter in the whole game, and this has a lot of the same stuff going on. I don't like it quite as much because it's a little bit more straightforward and a little bit more tedious with these walls and stuff kind of boxing you in. But there is still a lot of that exciting stuff going on, with timing being really important and side objectives being really important, which is not really a feature of most Fire Emblem chapters. So I'm pretty excited to talk about this chapter and really excited to talk about 11A. So there are three characters we're going to be getting in this chapter. So let's do a little bit of the preps. We want to bring Lilina because we're going to be recruiting Gonzalez. We recruited Gonzalez, of course, on the last part. That was in the A route, so you do the same thing here with Lilina. Shanna, you can bring Shanna. So one of the characters is either recruited by a different character we're recruiting named Klein, or you can recruit her by talking to her with Shanna both before and after you recruit Klein, which you can set up, and I think I'll probably try to show off here, although it can be a little bit sort of tedious. And the last character we want is Clarion, who's here to recruit Klein. Now, as far as positioning is concerned, Klein is going to come from over here on turn 8, so we're going to probably want Clarion to hang out around here. D is going to come from up here on turn 10, so you either want Thani up here or just to kind of back up and get Klein up there as quickly as you can. And Gonzalez and the bandits are going to come from up here, so you want to get Lilina up there as quickly as possible. Now, as far as the strategy for the rest of the chapter is concerned, it's pretty straightforward, a lot more straightforward than chapter 10a. One of the reasons for this is that you really want to keep these villages alive. And in chapter 10a, there's bandits that come really close to villages right off the bat, and they come from different locations. But here, the only bandits we have to contend with come from right up here. So as long as you can get somebody up here, recruit Gonzalez, and then get some defense up here, you can actually protect the villages pretty fast. So my recommendation is to basically go down the middle, open this wall as quickly as you can, get up here and do the recruits, get all the houses, keep clearing around here to recruit Klein, and then kill the boss and seize when you can. So that's the approach we're going to be taking. I will be skipping around quite a bit, as always, because a lot of the meantime of just sort of killing the units is relatively straightforward. You'll also notice that my units are a little bit different because I had to redo the chapter where you pick the route split, like my lance isn't promoted, but everyone's about the same. So, yeah. Now, I will say, as you can see, we're just progressing toward the middle. I will say, 2 range in this chapter is extremely important, or at least very useful, because there are a lot of these 2 range units. We just killed a shaman and an archer down here. There's 2 more shamans and an archer up here. There's an archer and a shaman here. Another archer here. A lot of 2 range on this chapter. So, having 2 range of your own, Lance and Allen, of course, can be great, even though 2 range is really inaccurate in this game. With that support, it can be nice. I'm going to give Allen, who just broke his javelin. But yeah, it can be quite tedious to actually deal with the 2 range through these houses. I will say, I do think that Shanna is a pretty useful unit to have in this chapter, whether or not you want to do the recruit or not. Part of the problem with the recruit is that you have to talk to Thea before and after you recruit Klein, but she doesn't become like a green unit, so Shanna will probably just die if she's unpromoted, so I probably won't be doing that. But she can still be really helpful to sort of like ferry around Lilina potentially, or any character, and get these houses. There is a side objective. If you do get all these houses, you do get a Hero's Crest. So I would highly recommend trying to get that. And then, of course, just getting houses is nice because you get items from them. And then there's a Orion's Bolt and an Elysian Whip that can be obtained if you keep Thea and Klein's units alive, respectively. So we'll talk about that more when they show up, but that can also be extremely useful. One of the things that I would really recommend here, because Lilina obviously has pretty poor movement unless she's somehow promoted at this point, is picking her up with somebody. I haven't really talked too much about like rescue dropping and stuff like that. I talked about it a little bit with the boss, but rescuing, especially with paladins, and this is where like Thani, for example, can be really useful, even if you haven't trained her at all, is extremely useful for getting units into certain locations that they need to be to get recruits. So just be aware of that. it's a really nice thing to have access to. So I just mentioned a little bit about handling the chapter. I am having Lou stay back, and then Clarine will stay back there as well, and they'll recruit Klein when he shows up. There is a glitch that can happen with both Klein and Thea that hopefully won't happen for us, but I'll talk about it if it does happen. If it doesn't, I'll still mention what it is. But yeah, there is I think there's an archer and there's that mercenary back there that we're going to have to contend with. But yeah, for the most part, we're just trying to move up to the north. And like I said, being able to attack these guys through the wall is extremely nice. You can do a lot of work with Lansdowne here. So I'll probably come back when, something like when Gonzalez shows up. We'll talk about that. Alright, so Gonzalez just showed up. So I just want to talk a little bit about him, where he shows up and stuff. There is this guy who's basically just a normal brigand. For some reason he has a face. Although he's really just worse than other brigands, so. I also want to mention this wall right here. There are a couple walls you could break. There's one down here, for example, that you could potentially use. But this wall you basically have to break unless you want to fly units over, or you want to go through this nonsense, this narrow gap here. So having units with just generically strong weapons can be really nice. I'm having Deke and Shanna do this. There's a pretty decent amount of downtime in this chapter if you can get to this point this quickly, where you just kind of need to wait for units to show up. So that's what I'm currently doing with that. As far as this is concerned, it's a pretty easy setup here. You just kind of need somebody to be just out of range. I'm also going to have Marcus go back because I actually need someone to pick up Klein. Clarine can do it, but we'll have Marcus go back because there are going to be, when Klein shows up, there's also going to be some cabs from over here, and it can get a little bit hairy down here, so just be aware of that. So I'm going to promote Lance, and then we'll kill this guy, and we'll set up the recruits. And next turn, when we recruit, I'll talk about Gonzalez on this. Alright, so next turn, Klein is going to be showing up, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about him. His units, I believe, are like, there's an archer here, and then Klein here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to keep clearing just outside of range. Ideally, we want to turn 1 recruit Klein, which we can potentially get the glitch, so we'll see how that goes. We're also going to recruit Gonzalez. Same thing as on the A route, you just talked to Melina. So this is the reason, if you want to train Gonzalez, that you should not go B route. Gonzalez on this route has identical stats. These are the same stats we were looking at on the A route, but you'll notice there's one key thing different here. He's level 11, not level 5, which means that's 6 levels where he didn't get a single stat. Obviously, if you're trying to like early promote him for some reason, I guess getting him at level 11 as opposed to 5 is sort of useful if you're like doing 0% growths or something. But no, obviously if you want to train him, you want those 6 extra levels. From 6 is not a game where like experience is hard to come by. So specifically if you want to train Gonzalez, highly recommend going A. I do think the B route's a lot easier, and there's another unit that's sort of different between A and B that's better, I think, on B. But Gonzalez specifically, if you do want to train him 100%, go A. So we're going to take care of this, and then I'll come back when Klein shows up and we'll talk about it. Okay, so here's Klein. We did not get the glitch, which is pretty awesome, because obviously you don't want the glitch. So the glitch is basically, there's a chance that Klein won't move. So Klein and Thea both come, there's ambush spawns in this game, obviously they're ambush spawns, which means they come on enemy phase, and then they move immediately. But sometimes Klein and Thea don't move. And this is, of course, really bad because if you set up the recruit, let's say with Clearing here, as we did, you can't actually do it if Klein does not move. And actually, I had to re-record this because I messed something up. And Klein can do this at any point. So my Klein actually, on my last attempt, moved and then did move on turn 2. So suddenly all his archers were in front of him. This is bad for 2 reasons. Number 1, obviously it's harder to get to him because you have to kill all of his archers. Number 2, when we recruit him, which I'll go ahead and do right now, we can see all of his units are going to become green units, which means that, well, for one thing, they're now our allies, which is kind of nice, but also, if you're able to keep them all alive, they're going to basically be beelining for up here. This is where they escape. Whether they escape or not doesn't matter, but if you keep them all alive, you get an Orion's Bolt. The same thing will happen with Thea's units, which will come from up here, which we'll deal with in a minute here. So not having to do that is really nice, because now we have the potential for the Orion's Bolt. Unfortunately, this is slightly awkward because this archer can potentially attack these archers, but I think we're going to, because I need Klein to start moving toward the middle. I also think this guy probably one-shots our Clarine, because she is pretty darn weak. So I think we're going to actually just move him and then have Lou fill in, so this archer can't get to Clarine, which should work out just fine. So basically, as I said, we need Klein to get up here, because Thea's going to spawn and we need to talk to Thea with Klein. It's actually kind of difficult to keep Thea's units alive. Klein's not that bad because we can easily recruit him, but because Thea needs to be recruited by Klein and not like another character, it can be a bit of a headache. So this is why I put Marcus down here to move up Klein. Hopefully we can get him up there fast enough. I also have Zealot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can keep him just outside of range so that he can actually go recruit on the next turn. So we'll come back when Thea shows up and we'll start dealing with her. Alright, so this is part of the reason it can actually be really annoying to recruit Tate, because Klein actually can't get to her, right? She's just outside of range. Now, recruiting her by talking to her before and after you recruit Klein with Shanna is really difficult and really annoying because she doesn't become a green unit. But if you talk to her after you recruit Klein, she actually does become a green unit, and this makes it a lot easier to recruit her and keep her Pegasus Knights alive. So this would be my recommendation. I actually didn't know this. I was just sort of playing around with some possibilities here. This is 100% easier to recruit, a much easier way, I should say, to recruit Tate and potentially keep her Pegasus Knights alive. I'm not 100% sure what she's going to do. I guess we'll just find out together. But yeah, her Pegasus Knights are going to do the same thing that the archers are currently doing. I will say that this is sort of problematic down here, and it can make keeping these archers alive really difficult. We may very well not get the Orion's Bolt. But yeah, this is definitely a really good strategy for recruiting Tate. It looks like we can actually protect one of the Pegasus Knights. If you can't do this, it's not the end of the world. Making sure that you get these houses so these brigands can't destroy them, and then backing up can also be a good strategy. We didn't necessarily have to recruit Klein when we did. I think a much better strategy can potentially be to wait one more turn so the archers get an opportunity to move up one more space. Because at this point, the archers are almost definitely going to die, and we're not going to get the Orion's Bolt. It's not the end of the world for us, but it is money, or can potentially be good for you if you are planning to train archers or nomads or something like that. So, alright, so a couple of things happened. Number one of the archers did die, and then these archers didn't move or do anything. I'm not really sure if that's a glitch or not. They just don't seem to want to move. I guess now that I think about it, they also didn't move on the previous turn, so I don't really know what their problem is. Also, the Pegasus Knights decided to go suicide into this bandit. I'm honestly not really sure. I like to pretend to be an expert on these games, but sometimes just weird things happen. On the A route, I know that all of the green units will just beeline for this location and try to escape. But I guess maybe on this route they don't. Unfortunately, this means that we're not going to be getting the Elysian Whip or the Orion's Bolt, which isn't the end of the world. But yeah, I'd like to say I'm an expert on this chapter and I can walk you through how to get everything really easily, but I honestly don't know why these archers didn't move, and I don't know why this Pegasus Knight decided to suicide into this. The nice thing is that we can recruit Tate at this point by talking to her with Klein, which is really nice. Obviously, as I said, the most important thing is getting the characters. But yeah, I mean, it should go to show you just how weird these chapters can be and how weird the AI can be, because I honestly don't know why they did the things that they did. Perhaps it's different on the A route as opposed to the B route, because I know on A, as I said, they do not attack just generic units. But yeah, so for the rest of this chapter, we're basically going to be just killing the boss as quickly as we can and getting the last couple of houses, and then we can get out of here. Unfortunately, our Rucker is not going to be promoted at the end of this, unlike what he was on the A route, although I may just early promote him. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. But yeah, there's a couple of houses down here that we still want to get. This is where our Pegasus Knights can be really useful. And so yeah, so we're going to take care of that, and I will come back probably in a little bit when we're ready to kill the boss. Okay, and in this installment of I have no idea why the AI does the things that it does, and I don't know how to change it, now the Pegasus Knights, despite being in range of actual units that they could kill, have decided that they just want to escape. This one decided that he wanted to be in 2 range of the boss, which means the boss is going to kill him next turn. I don't know. I really don't know what to say. This is a really important, I think, lesson to understand, which is that even though there are a whole bunch of different side objectives to earn on a specific chapter, does not mean that you have to get all of them. Obviously, if you're doing a non-Iron Man playthrough, you can certainly reset and try to get the perfect chapter, but you're not always going to get everything from a chapter, so just be aware of that, because yeah, like I said, I don't know what this AI is doing. These archers still refuse to move. I guess they've just resigned themselves to death. after Klein left, they're just done. And like I said, I have no clue what these Pegasus Knights are doing. So, yeah, I guess just be aware of that, because there are going to be chapters where you're not going to be able to get everything. For Iron Mans, I think this is a really good lesson. There are times where chapters can be really disastrous, and there are times where you have to just kind of let certain side objectives go, if that's just not in the cards to get for you. Okay, so like I said, we're just going to be getting these last couple of houses. Oh, there's also a Killer Axe guy here I did not realize. I was trying to figure out, because I figured there was a killing weapon guy somewhere on this chapter. So Deke actually could very well have died here. That's actually really high percent. Surprised it's that high. So just be aware of that. You don't want to lose a character for no reason. Alright, so as far as the boss is concerned, because I actually haven't talked very much about him other than the Pegasus Knight that he tried to kill. He actually didn't kill her, and then she escaped, which doesn't really help me, but, you know, it's kind of cool. I've just been using Lou, mostly because he was pretty close to promotion, and he actually did get promoted. I think he's pretty similar to our other Lou. He's quite good, except for his sort of low HP. So he should be good there. There are some reinforcements from behind, including this Paladin that's a bit scary. You can certainly stand here, and if you want some experience, kill the units from behind. But you absolutely don't have to. As I said, this chapter is a chapter about timing, and honestly, if I didn't sort of overextend with Lance going down there, or Lou going down there, more importantly, I probably could have killed the boss and finished this chapter a bit more quickly, but that's okay. We're just going to back up a little bit here, and then we should be good to go. I'll come back when we're ready to cease. Okay, I will also say that there is a Orion's Bolt in one of the houses, so if you were training like Sue or Shin or one of your archers for some reason, and you were really clamoring for that Orion's Bolt and you didn't get it like I didn't, you do still get one on this chapter, so just be aware of that. But I think we're good to go here. We did get all the houses, which is good. This is, again, where these can be really useful, because you can't actually get in here unless you want to go like this way. So getting them, if you don't want to deal with this nonsense, is kind of nice. Although, again, these units aren't that difficult to deal with, but if you don't want to deal with them, you don't have to. So that was chapter 10B. I wish that it went a little bit more smoothly, but you know, it is what it is. We get the Hero's Crest, as I said, because if you keep all the houses alive, at that point you would get the Orion's Bolt and the Elysian Whip had we been a little bit better, and then the AI had not been so bizarre. But yeah, as I said, I think it's a decent lesson to, and a little bit of coping for myself to not have to get every single item on every single chapter. So that was chapter 10B. Next time we're going to do chapter 11A, and then we'll do 11B. So I'll see you then. Hope you enjoyed.